Under the Ashes. Part 3. Ashes of Memory. Ethan couldn't stay in that cabin for another second. He packed his things hastily, fleeing the suffocating grip of fear. But the smokehouse seemed to have marked him. No matter where he went in the village, he felt dozens of eyes glued to his back. The villagers of Mist Valley looked at him with pity, as if looking at a dead man whose coffin had not yet been closed. He decided to return to the smokehouse during the day. The harsh highland sunlight did nothing to dispel the gloom. The closer he got, the harder it became to breathe. Kneeling by the debris near the mouth of the structure, he began digging through the blackened earth. Something hard brushed against his hand. Using both hands, Ethan dug forcefully and pulled out a rectangular object, half charred. It was an old diary. The cover was badly singed, and the pages inside were so brittle they threatened to turn to dust at the slightest touch. Ethan carefully opened it, his hands shaking as he saw the elegant yet strained handwriting in faded ink. Month, day, year. He brought home another silver bracelet. It is tiny and bright, but why does looking at it make me feel so cold? I urged him to stop, to leave things that don't belong to the living alone. He only laughed, a laugh that made him feel like a stranger. He said only that kind of money could change our lives. Ethan turned to the next page. Charred spots obliterated entire sentences, but the meaning remained clear. I cannot sleep. He goes out every night. Every time he returns, the smell of burning from the smokehouse grows inexplicably heavy. I checked secretly. He is not curing livestock. He is processing things that are not animals. I am terrified. If he doesn't change tomorrow, I will have no choice but to go to the local authorities. I cannot let him continue to spread this curse upon this land. Ethan flipped to the last readable page. The handwriting here was a frantic scribble, as if the writer had been trembling violently or in excruciating pain. If I die, do not burn me. The writing cut off with a long ink smear, like a strangled scream. Ethan sat flat on the ground, his mind spinning. Diana, Arthur's wife. These words belonged to her. It turned out her death wasn't a mere accident. She had tried to stop Arthur before the tragedy occurred. He looked up at the smokehouse. Now, peering closely at the gaps between the stones, he realized something horrific. The cracks in the masonry weren't caused by time. They looked like scratch marks. From the inside, it felt as though someone had desperately tried to claw through the stone to escape, but the flames had forbidden it. The sound of a dry twig snapping behind him made Ethan jump. He quickly shoved the diary into his coat pocket and turned around. The old man from yesterday stood there again, silent as a ghost, his cloudy eyes staring intently at the pocket containing the diary. You shouldn't read that, the old man said, his voice sounding like dry leaves scraping together. That place doesn't just hold one man's crime. It holds a lifetime of regret. And what you have in your hand is a death warrant you have brought upon yourself. Before Ethan could ask anything else, the old man turned and walked away, his figure dissolving into the heavy mist descending upon the valley. Ethan looked down at the diary, then back at the ruins. He realized the truth he sought wouldn't be found with the police or in archives. It lay right beneath those crimson bricks, where Diana had lain for the past 20 years. Part 4. The Cellar Beneath the Ash. Ethan didn't return to the cabin that night. He knew that if he stayed still, the paranoia would consume his mind completely. Under the dim moonlight, he returned to the clearing at the end of the village, bringing a small crowbar and a powerful flashlight. He was no longer walking as a journalist chasing a sensational scoop. He was a man seeking answers for an injustice that had lingered far too long. Ethan began prying away the stones at the base of the smokehouse. The signature burning stench hit his nose harder than ever. After more than an hour of hacking away, a large section of masonry collapsed, revealing a pitch-black void beneath. It was the entrance to a small cellar, an underground bunker dug right beneath the building's foundation. A blast of icy air rushed up from the cellar, carrying the dampness of earth and stone and a heavy scent of rusting metal. Ethan shone the light down. What met his eyes wasn't hanging meat, but old silver relics, antique chalices, and jewelry neatly arranged on rotting wooden shelves. Ethan climbed down, trembling. The air down here was thick with Arthur's past greed. In a corner, he saw dozens of rings, vintage brooches, and human bones bleached white by time. Everything had been brought back by Arthur from the ancient graves he had plundered over 20 years. But what made Ethan's heart stop was right in the middle of the cellar. It was a pair of old, scorched leather gloves lying next to a heavy iron mallet stained with dark brown blotches, Diana's blood, dried long ago. Kneeling, Ethan pieced together the horrifying reality. Arthur hadn't just robbed graves. He had turned this place into an antiquity hoard, and the smokehouse was the perfect cover to hide his atrocities. Right then, the flashlight in Ethan's hand flickered wildly and died. Darkness swallowed the cellar. In the absolute silence, Ethan heard the metallic clatter of objects shifting in the corner. Then a voice, not a whisper, but a strangled shriek, erupted right next to his ear. "Give it back to me." Panicking, Ethan smacked the flashlight back on. The beam swept across the cellar, and this time, he clearly saw the artifacts moving. They were no longer resting on the shelves, but were being dragged onto the floor by invisible hands. Losing his composure entirely, he scrambled out of the cellar. The moment his feet touched the surface, Ethan stared in shock at the deep finger-like gouges etched into the ash-laden soil outside, as if the ground itself was trying to stop him from revealing this secret to the world. He had the evidence. This cellar, these stolen relics, all of it condemned Arthur. But as Ethan turned to look toward the village, he realized something even more terrifying. The long-haired woman in the old dress, her face still a blur, was waiting for him right in the middle of the trail. This time, she didn't turn away. She was slowly walking toward him, clutching her chest where a fatal wound lay hidden. There was no turning back. Ethan knew that to end this, he didn't just need evidence. He needed to find Arthur, the man living a new life bought with the blood money of the dead.